Hi, Assalamualaikum. We are Group 13 from Section 3. The chosen topic for this assignment is housing in Malaysia, and we will touch on the introduction of the ministry involved, the issues, the causes, and the solution. Here are the presenter according to the content respectively. Me, myself, Izul Fadli, Muhammad Azim, Muhammad Azlan, Muhammad Aidil, and lastly, Muhammad Azri. Based on the chosen topic, housing, the ministry responsible is the Ministry of Housing and Local Development, or KPKT. There are some departments involved under this ministry, such as the Department of National Housing, Department of Local Government, and Perbadanan Prima, a government body. The ministry headed by the Minister Yang Berhormat Hajah Zuraida Kamaruddin and her Deputy Minister Datuk Sri Haji Ismail bin Haji Abdul Muttalib. The ministry vision is creating quality and sustainable living environment in line with the national vision, while the mission is to accomplish the national development agenda through people housing program, municipal and fire services to improve the quality of life and well-being of the people. And here a brief overview of the development of the housing policy in Malaysia since 1957. It started with post-independent housing phase from 1957 to 1970. Subsequently, the policy changed to housing to overcome poverty in the year 1970 to 1985. Next, the government changed the policy to housing focus on market in 1986 to 1997. And then in 1998 to 2011, the policy is housing for setinggan. And lastly, the current policy since 2012 is affordable housing policy. Okay, now proceed to the issues for housing in Malaysia. The first is affordability of housing. Using some approach used by the government based on the income of the people, they found the maximum price of affordable house at Kuala Lumpur, Putrajaya and Selangor is at RM300,000, which is the highest in Malaysia, while Kelantan, Kedah, Perlis and Perak rate of affordable house is at 150,000. And of course, the rate would be differ upon location, either in the city or rural area. The another issue for housing in Malaysia is the abandoned residential housing project. Based on statistics from the National Housing Department, there were 354 abandoned projects nationwide, with Selangor at the top of the list, while from the latest statistic from January to September 2019, there were 84 abandoned housing projects nationwide, and Selangor still the highest. Out of those 84 projects, 8 projects completed, 9 projects under rehabilitation, and 67 projects still remain abandoned. The 84 projects affect 12,679 buyers, with 64.5% of those buyers remain affected.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum. My name is Muhammad Azim. For this presentation, I will cover the cause for affordability to own house. The first cause is difficult to get loan. It was indicated that it is difficult to get housing loan in Malaysia due to the stricter lending guideline. Malaysia record as one of the highest household debt in the world. Half of the household income are used to pay monthly debt. Indeed, if Malaysia is the highest household debt, meaning they are easily giving loan to their citizens. PNM has implemented stricter lending guidelines since January 2012. Loan eligibility assessment will be based on net income, considering statutory deduction for tax, EPF contribution, and all other debt obligations. And recently, the same bank announced a new regulation that property buyers will no longer have the option to take housing loan for longer than 35 years and personal loan for a period of up to 10 years only. All this show the strict process and procedure that citizens need to go for in order to buy a house, and some of these rules make it difficult for young people to get a step on the housing lending. Next is low income. Rising home prices have added to the gravames of Malaysian grappling with the cost of living since goods and service tax started 2 years ago, and as the government removed subsidies on daily items including petrol and sugars. According to Malaysia's chief statistician, Datuk Sri Muhammad Uzan Mahidin, the new figure of poverty line was derived from change in methodology which praised the importance of healthy eating and quality basic needs. This table is the new poverty line in Malaysia. We know that price of house will be getting higher, which make people to catch up with the total income that they receive monthly. They also should consider the other costs when they buy house, such as electricity, living costs and others. So from this cost, they will hard to buy a house for their needs. The last cause is the focus of the government is mainly low income. Hence, middle income and 40, which is M40, stuck between not qualifying a low income housing program and cannot afford the medium cost residential. Is because the government expectation was that the M40 people is same level with T20 people. In the new budget, the Perikatan National Administration has allocated RM1 to 1.2 billion to build affordable housing for low-income family. Close to half of it will go into building 14,000 homes under the public housing program, and over 300 million more for 3,000 units to be developed by the National Housing Development Company, which is SPNB. A total of RM125 million was allocated to upgrade and repair low and medium cost home damaged by natural disaster, while another RM310 million is allocated for the civil servant housing program. As the economic pressure weighed down Malaysians across income groups, the M40 people, especially those on the borderline tier with the B40 group, are disappointed with the 2021 budget. They have said that if they buy a house, they would be able to get the waiver in stamp duty, but the house they can afford, they do not qualify to buy them as houses are built for the B40. In short, the government should solve the problem to ensure that other people can get same benefits. That's all from me. I will pass to the next presenter.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Now I will explain the cost to the abandoned house project issues. There are several causes that have led to abandoned house project, such as mismanagement from developers, having financial problem, unfavorable economic condition, and lastly, due to government policies. First, the low participation among skilled local construction has led to abandonment of housing project because the developers and contractor refuse to invest on high-paid ways of skilled worker and tend to hire cheap unskilled workers in order to maximize its profits. Besides, one of the reasons why the developers abandon their project because they are having insufficient fund and limited resources to run construction activity, to buy construction material, to pay wages of workers, to hire qualified project managers, or to complete the housing project as a overall. There are also difficulty in getting a loan to fund their project because the bank have a strict regulation on the loan. Third, the economic crisis or financial crisis also one of the causes of abandoned construction house project because it may lead to the rise of price of raw material such as steel and cement. This also can force the developer to use a poor quality of raw material in their project to cut the cost. Lastly, the government policies such as the requirement to build 30% of low-cost houses has contribute to the abandonment of some housing project. The developers will abandon their low-cost project if the number of buyers is low rather than complete the house project and struggle to find the buyers. Uh, there also because of the fact that the low cost houses can only be sold to the lower income group rather than investor, because investor tend to buy a high cost houses to gain a high return in their investment. uh, there also the reason why uh, the lower income groups prefer to rent the house rather than buy the house. This force the developer to abandon the low cost project because it bear the high cost, the cost, but there's no buyers. That's all the sum of the causes that lead to the abandoned house project. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Muhammad Aidil bin Muhammad Noor, and I will discuss the solutions for the issue of housing, which focus on affordability to own a house in Malaysia. Your first solution is to have a single affordable housing agency, meaning that there is need to have some agencies to work on the housing programs that focus on this issue, because with these agencies it brings big opportunities for people to own or belong a house. Most of the programs offers a scheme that create a chance to earn first house, which is first home deposit schemes. These schemes aims to help affordable home buyers with their down payments on their first house purchase. If households have their down payment covered, it will be easier for them to obtain a bank loan. Also, the housing programs offer affordable price range according to the criteria, and the conditions to buy it were not very strictly. Next, with these housing programs also, it will attract developers to build more affordable house project because of incentives provided by the agreement between agency and the developer. For example, the My House scheme offers incentives up to 30,000 ringgit per unit that benefits both home buyers and private developers. Last one idea from this point is that these housing programs also will more focus on low income and middle income. With the affordable price, it will allows them to eventually own it, with some additions of scheme, which is rent to own scheme, which is a leasing process introduced by the government. In this slides shows a list of housing programs that have been implemented, which are My Home or Scheme Perumahan Mampu Milik Swasta. PPR stands for Program Perumahan Rakyat. PPAM Perumahan Penjawat Awam Malaysia. Rumah WIP, Rumah Mampu Milik Wilayah Persekutuan. Rumah Selangorku, and there is more. All of these housing programs have their own objectives and target applicants to own it based on the criteria. Basically, some housing programs requires all eligible applicants to secure home financing package from the financial institutions, whether conventional and Islamic banks, and the interest rates from the financing will cause the households to pay back the principal and the interest profit rate with few or no additional incentives. Therefore, it will affect the affordability for people to own a house. Thus, to overcome the problem, implementation of housing fund from the government will increase the rate of affordability to own a property, because the housing fund, which is BNM, Bank Negara Malaysia Fund for Affordable Homes, includes many benefits and schemes. The scheme will help many people who are facing difficulty in getting a housing loan owing to financial illiteracy and the lending guidelines. Other special incentives provided in the scheme include the waiver of processing fee for financial application that will help to reduce the application fee on some agreement. Down payment support is to be included as part of the financing, subject to the participating financial institutions assessment. Next one is affordable rates of that's for mortgage protection cover, MRTA or MRTT, and lastly the exemption of stamp duty by the Inland Revenue Board.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Azri bin Abdul Rahim. I will be presenting on the solution of the abandoned housing project. So I have highlighted three main points that can reduce the possibility of house project being abandoned. So the first one is establishing the social infrastructure before affordable housing in suburban or rural area is approved. So as we know, most of the low cost housing was built on suburban or rural area. These areas are lack social infrastructure such as public transport, retail shop, clinics and school. It will increase the financial burden of the potential buyer as they have to spend extra money for the facilities. By providing the social infrastructure, it will attract more potential buyers to buy the house. Moving on to the second point, the government should avoid cronyism and be transparent in selecting the contractor for the government housing project. There are some cases where the information on the requirement of the project being leaked to the favorable contractor. The term and condition of the project also being done according to the favorable contractor company and make them the only company that can fulfill the requirement. Thus, they will have a heads up and can easily win the project. This will indeed oppress the potential contractor that have higher credibility to run the project. Lastly, the housing developers should assign clear roles and responsibilities in advance of the project. The developer should get buy-ins and ideas from key players to ensure the smoothness of the project plan. Any failure to deliver what exactly being planned will result in important tasks being ignored and create a significant project delay. For example, you may have scheduled a mason to lay the bricks for the housing project, but until the foundation has been poured, you cannot lay bricks. This will indeed increase the time allocation for the project to be done, so careful planning is a must. So that's all from me. Thank you.
This is a list of our reference in doing this assignment. We have used some articles and websites. That's all from us. Thank you for watching.